teenagers have been admitted to San Diego County's emergency shelter for children over the last 2 years than in the recent past. This comes at a time when reports of physical abuse and neglect are up as well. Children can end up in the system as a result, and that can be especially tough on teens.
This is all of our kids that have been with us over the years, and our adopted children. Here in the middle, we have all of their adoption day photos.
Kanaya Webster is a resource parent.
It used to be known as a foster parent. Now we're resource parents.
More than 20 years ago, she and her husband first opened their home to a couple of neighborhood teens whose mother was having a rough time.
How many children have you housed?
We're in the 20s. Yeah, I think of 20 or 21 maybe.
All trying to heal.
But all of them that we've worked with have always just really wanted somebody to be there for them.
We absolutely have a need for more resource families.
Kimberly Giardina is Director of Child Welfare Services for the San Diego County Health and Human Services Agency.
Our goal is always to get kids back home with their families if it's safe to do so.
That doesn't always work, and it's a greater challenge to find a home for a teen.
If grandma's caring for that teenager and things really start to escalate and get difficult, it can be really hard to figure out how to support and sustain that placement. Same thing with a foster home. So we've definitely seen more teens going to Polinsky on a what we call a change of placement, where we're needing to find a different level of care for that youth.
The Polinsky Center has been San Diego County's emergency shelter for kids for almost 30 years now. Children end up here for various reasons, from neglect to abuse. And over the last year or so, they've seen an increase in the number of teens. Numbers obtained by CBS 8 through a public records request show an increase in physical abuse and neglect in children of all ages admitted to the Polinsky Center over the past year. But Giardina says overall, cases of abuse reported to the county were down.
But there were definitely changes in sort of the types of abuse and the needs that we saw for families.
Giardina points to pandemic impacts on society and a mental health care system that can't keep up.
We've had more youth with overdoses. We've had more youth with really significant mental health needs, more youth with runaway behavior. And that can make it harder for them to sort of stay in a family-like setting placement.
Bouncing from placement to placement makes it tough for teens to trust. And as they age out of the system, they still need support.
When you're a youth in foster care, oftentimes there are labels of being the bad kid, you did something wrong to get into the system. And so there's a lot of personal blame put on a young person.
Simone Hids-Monroe knows. She went into the system with her 3 siblings when their mother died. They were told it was highly unlikely that they would stay together.
It was heartbreaking and unfortunate that no one stood up for us as a resource parent.
They were able to stay together at San Pasqual Academy, San Diego's residential school for foster youth. Now, Simone is making a difference.
So Just in Time for Foster Youth is a supportive, caring community for foster youth, current and former foster youth ages 18 to 26.
From food to furniture, young people in need can find necessities, but they can also find connections and a community. Kanaya will tell you it's not easy to be a resource parent, but it's not easy for the kids either.
Somebody who's watching this who thinks they could but are fearful, what would you say to them?
Come in and take some classes. You're more than welcome to come in and kind of see what this is all about. Teenagers are supposed to make mistakes. While they're at home, that's when you want them to do that. They're supposed to learn from those mistakes. And so they need parents to help them through that. And if they don't get that, then they're making mistakes and making mistakes and making mistakes. And then that brings them into adulthood, still making those mistakes, with no one to teach them any better.
Has this been rewarding for you?
More so than I could ever tell you. It is.
Carlo Cicchetto, CBS 8 News.
The need is real, so if you'd like to learn more about becoming a resource parent, head to sdcares4kids.com. That website's here below us. Jeff Zeverly did a really nice story on Simone Hids-Monroe and Just in Time for Foster Youth a little while back. You can find that on the Zeverly Zone page as well. If it's something you're interested in, get involved.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's rough situations that force kids to go into the system, and these parents are the ones who a lot of the time kind of help uplift them and set them back on the right path.
And one of the things that Kanaya said is they don't just age out. She's been told by children she's fostered, it's like, I want a family when I get married. I want a family to go back to for the holidays when I'm an adult. They want connection. And that's the kind of life you may be looking at if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.